Hi everybody, this is Andy Chan. Welcome back to my channel. It's the middle of July. I did some analysis recently and I wanted to get this out the door before I got too busy again. So I looked at the Tabesh conversion. Nobody really asked me to do this, but I've been sitting on this for a little bit and this is mainly for my own learning journey actually because I just wanted to see what some of the outcomes were and the process of the initial sponsorship refusal and then how council decided what avenue to take. So let me just jump right into it. A Tabesh conversion is named after a ruling back in 2004 by an IAD member that basically said, and I've got a slide here, that basically said that applying for a marriage sponsorship shouldn't be considered mutually exclusive to a common law or a conjugal relationship. So so that was back in 2004, and subsequently it's been um, brought into Canadian law. So this is from the IRB. Hopefully you can all see this link. But what it states is that in some cases, when an application for permanent residence was based on marriage, the ID has found the marriage to be not valid. They they have examined whether or not the appeal could be allowed based on common law or conjugal partnership, and the footnote points to the Chavez ruling. So here's the Chavez ruling, and here's the short URL. So you can look it up, but the main passage is this, and my apologies, like my monitor is a little small, but that's not what I want to do. But he basically says all three categories are not mutually exclusive. If a person applies for a member of the family class as a spouse, all three options should be considered. Okay. So I first heard about this actually last year. I do a lot of hearing observations, and one IAD member at the start of the hearing, one IAD member at a sponsorship appeal said, "No, I need to pause this hearing because I need to look up the criteria for a Tabesh conversion." And that really piqued my interest because if an IAD member doesn't know, then that's something. I love the whole process of the research, so it's been on the back of my mind ever since. And then a couple months ago, I started looking at. Oh, I'm gonna mispronounce this. One second. Let me get this right. Okay, I'm back. I looked at Ruxadi ceremonies in the South Asian community and how they were evaluated, whether there was a problem with it, the ceremony didn't happen, and so on and so on. And in some cases, in some of those files, some of the ceremonies were held in by proxy. And I noticed a couple of those files also mentioned the Tabesh conversion. So, right after I did that one, I've had this analysis on the back of my mind. Again, it's just for my own knowledge. Okay, so what I did was I looked into Canly, and this is a link to the original Tabesh hearing, and it's this one here. And I noticed there was a bit of a flaw. So if you click on it and you look at the citations, so there's 44 citations, but I think there's a bit of an issue with Canly with some of the older files, because if I look for the words Tabesh conversion, I found well over 90. And there could be even more actually, but what's directly linked back to the original file is just 44. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes Canly is a little off. Okay. So the next thing I did, and I'm going to be like all my other videos, I'm going to be providing all the PDF files. Okay, hopefully I didn't catch anybody off guard. So this is my Google Drive. I've got a folder on Google Drive. I'm going to make this available for everybody. Inside here are all the PDF files that I downloaded manually off of Canly, and actually I'll talk about that at the end of this presentation. So there's over 90 files. I think there might be two that reference the Tabesh conversion, but they're not actually a spousal appeal. So just keep an eye on those. Inside this folder, I've got the original Tabesh conversion ruling. Plus, in this JR folder, there's 4 judicial review cases that reference the Tabesh conversion. But for this presentation, I'm focused on the IAD hearings. So again, I'm going to make these available. Okay. So much like in my other videos, and feel free to watch them, what I did was I uploaded all those PDF files into NotebookLM. NotebookLM is Google's RAG tool where it consumes documents and bases its AI, I guess, AI answers solely on these files. So here again, here's all the PDFs from the Google Drive, which I will be granting access to. I can also make this NotebookLM open to everybody as well. Oh, okay. So here's all the files. Now, as before, what I do is I go into data table and I get AI to summarize it for me. Much like all my other videos, I should emphasize the fact that I get AI to summarize it, but I do my best to read every file at least once, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times, because AI can make mistakes. Okay, so AI can make mistakes. I'm going to just jump ahead just a bit. So this is the data frame that I got from NotebookLM. So each row is a file that mentions the Tabesh conversion and a spousal appeal. I noticed when I was going through this manually that some of these fields, they weren't hallucinations, but it didn't quite Gemini didn't quite understand the question. So what I was doing, I was going in manually and just putting in these tags. Because some of these files, some of the wording is very complicated. Some people, for example, have like multiple wedding ceremonies. So when asked it, was one of the applicants in a already married in a previous relationship when the ceremony took place, it didn't really understand because there are, it could be very confusing. And I think one of these files, the guy was had two previous relationships, and it was questionable which one he was actually divorced from. So it got, because of language, I haven't found any hallucinations, but Gemini did get confused. Okay, so I apologize. I wanted to jump ahead and just talk about that for 1 second. So inside the data table under the studio, I had basically two prompts, and this really, I think, if you take these files and run it your own way, I think this is going to be very helpful to you. Okay, sorry. I'm in sunlight right now. It's a little hard to see. Okay, so here's the first prompt. And I'm just going to pause it for 1 second. So this didn't actually take me too long. So what this prompt is doing is I'm breaking out and telling Gemini to give me 1 row of data per file with this criteria. This criteria is based on the criteria I thought would be useful in analyzing the Tabesh conversion, plus also the general criteria of using Chavez. And the Shabbos criteria is based on an IAD hearing based on 2005, and you could look that up um, after this video if you're not sure where that's from. But um, hopefully it's pulling out a lot of fields. So what I'm getting it to do is pull out a data for each column. So from that prompt, it generated these columns. So for example, the hyperlink and the citation, I do this quite often. So this hyperlink looks back into Canly for that file. So I always have a cross-reference. So what I did was I copied that address and I pasted in the address bar, and it takes me right to that file. Okay, so that's the reason I have that there. Then the other fields, most of these other fields I extracted again from that prompt. There are a few fields that I manually went in and I started reading through each case to add my own tags just to clarify what the actual condition is. Okay, so a lot of these fields are based on what I think is important to analyzing Tabesh and Chavez. Okay, now let me talk about this field for 1 second. This field is based on another prompt. So again, I mentioned I have 2 prompts. So this is the first one that has most of the fields. So let me show you the other one. So, and this is for my own knowledge actually. I wanted to get a better sense of, and again, I'm in sunlight, it's really tough to see. Okay, my apologies. Hope nobody's getting confused by my mouse clicking here. So this is the prompt. So very similar, each file is a Canadian's spousal appeal. Use all the files, create a table with the following data, the hyperlink, and then a graph, a click graph with a tree notation, because I wanted to understand the process flow for every single file. And that's how this was generated. And I found that when I'm reading through this, I found that to be a better summary than having to understand each individual breakdown. So that's this field. So with those 2 prompts, I have two tables, obviously. So I have these 2 tables. So what I did was I exported both out and I merged the 2 together. So therefore, that's why I have everything in one table. Okay. So at this point, this is when I start poking around and trying to get a better understanding of it. So let me zoom back out because this is a very small monitor. And I just wanted to get a sense of what's driving everything. And I realized there's 2 main reasons why the Tabesh conversion was asked for. Firstly, in the original spousal application, there was a question whether either the applicant or the appellant was properly divorced or not. Secondly, the other reason is, and this is more common, I found, is that there's a question with the wedding ceremony, or maybe the couple didn't even have one. The couple applied for a spousal application on their own, not realizing that they should have applied under one of the other categories as a conjugal couple or under common law. Okay, so that's why I started reading through, and I found the following. So all the way down here, and here I'm just using a bunch of formulas, just a bunch of spreadsheet formulas. So let me scroll over here. So out of all these files, I guess like 91 of them or 92 of them, 22 had a fact pattern that the visa officer suspected that one of the parties um, wasn't divorced properly. It's and a very low success rate. So if you have a look at this data file, and I'm providing everything, you can have a look at this data file. Only 3 were successfully appealed. And I read through a couple, and there were very special cases. One couple, the applicant was married. He filed for a divorce from his religious organization, not realizing that that religious organization didn't follow through and do the proper paperwork. And he had been living with his new spouse for years. So that was one of the successful appeals. And I think the other 2, if I'm not mistaken, are a very, very similar circumstance where the appellant or the applicant had gone through and filed what they thought was a proper procedure to divorce from their previous partner. So, but again, it's a very low success rate. What's a higher success rate I've found is if there's a proxy ceremony. So some cultures, some ethnic groups, there may be multiple ceremonies, or for example, it was the only ceremony was a proxy ceremony, but they've been together for a long time. That success rate is much higher. So, and then over here, I have some more formulas. Then what I tried to look at is whether the couple asked to be evaluated as a common law couple or in a conjugal relationship. So, and then you'll see that some of them they never even made it that far because the case was dismissed, especially if the IRCC says no. It's clear that one of the couple was not previously or properly divorced, so it gets immediately dismissed. That actually, this is quite interesting. I brought in the nationality of the applicant because one of the countries I was quite interested in is the Philippines, because getting a divorce in the Philippines is quite a lengthy task. So I brought in the nationality of the applicant. So I kind of jumped ahead. So I talked about this field. The other fields again were based on my research into what's critical for the Tabesh conversion. So what it is, I brought in the marital status of the appellant, the marital status of the applicant when the couple first met, the date when the couple first met, the duration of time they spent together, which separates a common law to a conjugal, possibly, and then the marital status of the appellant when they had their wedding ceremony. This caused a Gemini again some confusion, because if there's multiple ceremonies, that Gemini didn't quite understand how to answer that. Marital status of the appellant, and then what else do we have? The refusal was either based on one of the parties was married, was considered married already, and then this field is researching whether both parties were at the wedding ceremonies, Uh, so in other words, looking for like a proxy ceremony. The original reason why the application was refused, the date of the wedding ceremony, and then these are the this is a bit bit of a duplication, but these ones are the Chavez, closely related to the Chavez factors, and then whether again the couple were asked to be evaluated under common law or conjugal, the ultimate decision, an explanation of the decision. So those are all the columns I got Gemini to extract for me. So if you watch the recording, feel free to look at the prompt, and I'll see if I can copy out the prompt in the text of in the description of this YouTube video. So again, I did all that, and I found that could be potentially a very useful legal remedy for proxy ceremonies, and for a couple that have a proxy wedding ceremony, and the success rate of whether the couple asked to be considered common law or conjugal seems to be roughly the same. And these percentages are pretty closely aligned with the success rate overall of sponsorship appeals. This is from the IRB for sponsorship appeals for 2026 so far, the first quarter. This is not broken out by spousal sponsorships, unfortunately, but my gut feeling is that this percentage is probably indicative of spousal sponsorship appeals too. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I've got for this video. Again, what really drove this is really me building this up for my own knowledge. And I thought, well, it's pretty much ready to go out the door. I was thinking of doing a part 2, but I'm probably going to need some help because I have to use another tool. And actually, I want to ask a bit of a call out. If there's anybody out there that's used, for example, a custom GPT to do equivalent work, maybe you could let me know. Or even better yet, if you're using some other tool that can handle a lot more files. I've got an idea for quite a bit bigger project, but it's too big for this tool, this Google NotebookLM tool that I use. I would be exceeding the file limits. So a bit of a call out that way. And also, I want to also reach out. For anybody that knows this algorithm. Random forest or extreme gradient, because I want to start looking at more of the process flows. If there's anybody out there that can help me analyze a much larger data set with this algorithm, please reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you and pick your brain. So thank you so much for your time, and if there's any questions, just let me know. Again, I'm gonna make all the IAD files available off my Google Drive. I'm gonna make this data frame available, and I'm also going to make my NotebookLM available, so you can copy it and analyze each file on your own, or just small groups of file, however you wanna do it. If there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.